Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by PILMA. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hi, this is Gracie Howes with PILMA. Let's hit pause for just a second on this episode because I have to tell you about this event that every forward-thinking PI firm should have on their calendar this January. It's the AI for PI Expo in Orlando, Florida, January 15th through 17th. This is the very first conference of its kind dedicated entirely to showing personal injury firms how to harness AI to save time, cut costs, and grow faster. You'll get hands-on demos, practical training, and access to the best AI solutions built for law firms. Reserve your spot now at pilma.org/AI for PI Expo via the link in the show notes.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the honor and privilege of having Jeremy Alters with ClaimAngel. Thank you for being with us here today, Jerry.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that.
So we're going to talk about something today that you probably despise, probably don't like. I know when I was practicing, it was always kind of a pain in my butt, but the deal is it's necessary for us to practice law. And I guess you're all wondering what it's about. But it's about your clients needing money while they're recovering. And some of them probably don't need the money. They just won't be looking for, whatever the reason. And I know we as lawyers don't really like that because it can hurt the chance of settlement because they look at what they get at the end, not at what the total payout is. It's what can you do for me today? But the deal is, if you don't do it, they're going to go to another lawyer that will do it. And the other thing is, I think we have a duty to find the best deal because some of these companies are charging, I think, usurious. And I will tell you this, I was telling Jeremy this before all this funding came out, you're not going to believe this, back in 1985, my brother would loan my clients money. Not the interest rates today, but he charged a high rate. Now, believe me, they charged like a 10% upfront fee and then like 2% a month or something like that. But we control what the client's got. And that's the thing that I think is important is, if you got a guy that's got a case that's worth $1 million, then they can get 20,000. But if their case is worth 20,000, then you can't get them 20,000. It's just not going to work out that way. And this way you can blame it on the underwriters. So anyway, I talked to you about this several months ago, and you've actually talked to some of our masterminds about it. But tell me what ClaimAngel is and why is it different and why is it better?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I will. We are the only litigation funding marketplace in the United States. So think Uber. That's what we are. We're Uber for litigation funding. We are not a funding company. We're a marketplace that brings law firms, PILMA law firms, and others together with 27 funders on the other side so that the claims can get funded at one set rate that is reasonable for the client in the face of uncertainty and in the face of something being non-recourse, because if the case is lost, it's lost. If it's lost, the funding is lost as well. The normal rates in this industry are anywhere from 40% annually to 200, 250%. It's absolutely ludicrous. Highway robbery, usury is cheap compared to those rates. And we've tried to standardize that. We've tried to standardize it. We've tried to level the playing field. And we've tried to make a product that allows for ease of use in a digital world to allow the lawyers, PILMA lawyers and others, to get their clients' money at a fair rate that allows you to hold on to that case and not settle that case for $40,000 when it's really worth the policy limits of $100,000, and not have the clients come to you at the end and say, I didn't know I did that. I didn't want that much money, et cetera, et cetera. If a client takes $1,000 from ClaimAngel, 1 year later, it's $1,278, 27.8% simple interest. There are fees from ClaimAngel that are on top of that. At the end of the day, it ends up being about $1,300, maybe a couple dollars more. But our fees are flat. They don't accrue interest. The simple interest is calculated every quarter. So technically, Ken, it's 6.95% a quarter. Why is that important? Number one, it's the lowest industry rate, period, by far. No one can come close. If they tell you they can come close, they might do it on a case or two. They can't do it across the board because we've utilized technology to make this cheaper for the funders, and they pass those savings on to the clients. That's how it works. No one is allowed to alter our rate. They use our contracts, our information, meaning it's all ClaimAngel, 27.8%, and there's a 2x cap, meaning at 2x, when it hits 2x, it never goes above that. Our 2x cap, no one in this industry has this either, does not hit for 46 months. You may hear about a 2x cap from another company at 24 months or at a year or 3 years. Ours is 46 months because that's how long it takes for 27.8% to double to 100%. It is, in my opinion, taking a very gray and opaque industry and turning it into a transparent, usable tool. And Ken, let me say this because I think it's important. I don't know the people listening how high your credit card rates are or aren't, but the average person in the United States, and when I say average, the average person who would need this money in the United States, if they have a credit card, their credit card rates are between 28.99% and 35.99%. Those rates compound every month. Technically, they compound daily, but it's calculated monthly. They have a full payment due every month of the interest. They have no cap on it, and it's full recourse. At 27.8% simple interest, this is better money for your clients if they're paying their bills on the credit card because of the accident. That's what we've tried to build. We are partnering with some of the biggest firms in the country doing this because they believe in the ethical and fiduciary responsibility behind it. And we believe that you can use funding this way as a tool to help your clients get to the other side with confidence and really hold the insurance company accountable, because we all know insurance companies know the case is worth $100,000. They offer you 30, they offer you 40. They know the client in most cases has never seen that kind of money, and they're going to pressure you, the attorney, to settle that case. We don't want that to happen. You get them a couple $1,000s, it buys them time. Time turns into power. It's the old David and Goliath. The slingshot becomes more powerful because it has more time to attack more targets. Here, we're going to attack the insurance companies back with usable, affordable money for your clients.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because a lot of them, and insurance companies, they know this too. That's why I think they lowball to start with, to see if the client's really hurting for money. If they are, they know they'll take it even if it's not a good offer.
Yeah, I mean, they have algorithms that determine the background of the person that is suing them and their financial status and all other things that they look at, and they try to squeeze them. And look, lawyers every single day, plaintiffs, personal injury lawyers, malpractice lawyers, product liability lawyers, we all get things. I'm not a lawyer anymore, but I was. And we all have things said about us, talked about us, ambulance chasers, you name it. At the end of the day, we're fighting the good fight for people. And that's important. When you are a lawyer in your firm fighting the good fight for someone who deserves it, there's nothing better than that. And if you can do that and try to even the rules by getting the client comfortable so that you don't have to rush and they can't force because of financial status to do that, that's a good thing.
So basically, these 27 companies, I guess does the clients come to you or do the lawyers come to you for the claimants?
Most of our partnerships are with the law firms. And then what happens, Ken, is they'll refer us the client on our platform. The other way they do it is they have the client go to claimangel.com and sign up, and then we contact the lawyer. So remember I said Uber earlier? Picture it this way. In order to get the funding companies to agree to fund at this low rate, we got to give them information, and we need to give them case information. We like the clients, but we can't really rely on the clients for case information. So what we do is we go to the lawyer, their paralegals, or case manager, and ask them for some case information digitally. It comes in an email form. We also have a portal that I'll discuss in a few minutes that makes it even easier, but we have a digital form. We ask for case information. We turn that case information into what we call a listing. So think about Uber. If you want to go to the airport, you put your information into Uber. Uber sets the price. ClaimAngel, the law firm, puts the case information into ClaimAngel, and we set the price at 27.8%. Then 27 funders compete with speed to get that funding, just like Uber. 25, 50, 100 drivers compete with speed and proximity to get that ride. It's exactly the same. If you've ever bought anything on eBay, you got a lot of books behind you, Ken. If you bought a book on eBay, you go on eBay and you click buy now. it's the same thing. A funder is looking at the information about the book or about the funding. They're underwriting it live, sometimes as fast as seconds, and they're clicking, buy now, which in our world is send contracts. And then everything goes by DocuSign, and we, ClaimAngel, track everything all the way through. You don't ever have to deal with another funding company, another funding entity. You deal exclusively with us. We handle all of the servicing, all of the negotiations, anything that needs to happen. Of course, we prefer no negotiations because our rate is so low. But look, if a case is lost or goes wrong, sometimes you have to do that, and we're here to help with that.
How do you deal with a situation where maybe the client's got 2 loans and the lawyer says, you just really don't want you to borrow any more money, but they're persistent. So they give them ClaimAngel or whatever.
Yep.
How does that work?
Yeah, we do buyouts of other fundings. So let's say that a client has a case that's worth $100,000. I always use that number because it's a round number. Case worth $100,000, and they've gotten funding for $3,000. Now the lawyer believes it's worth $100,000. The policy limits are $100,000. So the likely outcome, if they can hold on long enough, is $100,000. Okay. Our funding companies will evaluate that and say, okay, they're asking for an additional $1,000. So that would be a total of $4,000. So at the end of the day, it would be $4,000. Don't quote me on this number, $4,150, $4,200 to pay back plus interest. Okay. When that happens, they will evaluate whether or not that claim warrants that amount of money. Now with us, they're very careful because they're not going to underwrite it if the value is not there, because they need to get paid back 92 to 93% of the time on our platform, or their margins don't work. They're not going to do it just like they do normally by text, where they'll fund by text. I always say to people, if a funding company is willing to fund you by text, that means their rates are too high or there's something else going on. It's usually the rates are too high, meaning they can lose 4 cases and still succeed out of 10, right? We can't do that. We need to succeed in 92 to 93% of fundings. So when we get that information, the funder underwrites that information and they put an internal cap on it, just so you know, Ken, and so your listeners know. They generally won't fund above 10 to 12% of the total value of the case or the policy limits, whichever is lower. So rarely will you see it run away. And if they borrow $5,000, let's say on $100,000, you can rest assured that it's never going to be more than $10,000. That's the way it goes, because 46 months later, it's $10,000. So anytime up till 46 months, it's lower than that. And again, it's 6.95% a quarter. So you have the same amount that's owed every quarter. And we have a very transparent table at claimangel.com that every client, every lawyer, every funder can see. So there's never a question. And the key in this industry is transparency, transparency, transparency. There is none of it. We have created it. It is as transparent as you can possibly see. And we make sure everybody has it at all times.
And I know another thing with me, when I was doing it, I used to think it was aggravating. Do they have to talk to the lawyer every time, or can they just talk to the paralegals?
No, they can talk to the paralegals. So ClaimAngel tries not to talk to anybody. It's kind of one of our things. We try to do it digitally. So imagine getting a form in a portal or an email that says, hey, can you give us this info? Now, if we're not getting responses, we'll follow up with emails, or we will then call. But the paralegal can do everything. There is one caveat. Okay. We will not fund. When I say we, our funders will not fund on our platform if the lawyer is not aware of the funding. Okay. They have to be aware of it. So in that form we send, it says, is the lawyer aware of the funding? It has to be checked, yes. And then we ask, is there an amount that this should be capped at? Those aren't the exact words, but a lawyer might only want the client because they're not sure about the case to get $500. We need to know that. If the lawyer says it should only be $500, they're not telling the client what to do. They're recommending that the case has issues or we don't know enough about it, and they won't get more than $500. We try to partner with the lawyers to make their cases more successful, not less successful. We want them to be more successful. We don't want them to call us at the end and say, hey, you gave my client $5,000 and now it's $28,000. And we need you to reduce it to $7,000. No, it's going to be $7,000 from us in the first place. You don't have to do that. We want you to succeed in your cases, because the more you succeed, the more you're going to use us, the more you're going to recommend us, the more our funders get paid back 93% of the time, and we're successful. And on those buyouts, Ken, like we talked about, we'll buy out that prior funding company and we'll lower the entire amount to our rate. So if they were paying 100% at another company or 60%, it all gets lowered down to 27.8% going forward. That's the benefit of doing it. And most firms that we partner with that mandate that their firm use it, and I'll explain why they should do that in a minute. But most firms who do that, they mandate it and they say, ClaimAngel is the only solution we're going to use for two reasons. And Ken, we've talked about this. It's very important. Ethics and fiduciary duty. A lawyer with a vendor like this in all 50 states has an obligation to tell the client about the lowest rate or the lowest cost they know about, if they're going to tell them anything at all, and give them multiple options. In this industry, Ken, it never happens. Lawyers just send them to a company they have a relationship with, not realizing that's really not the right thing to do. And trust me, anybody ever wants to talk about ethics, I know more about ethics than anybody can. We've discussed it. I want to be very clear for everybody. I was a former lawyer in Florida. I'm disbarred because of an ethics problem, and I take full responsibility for it. It was a terrible error, and these things happen, and I'm happy to talk offline with anybody about it. But I'm trying to help this not happen to other people. It's a slippery slope here. Because yeah, it might be easy to text a funding company, they fund your client, but they're doing it at 80% when you can get it for 27.8%. And that interest is compounding and add all the factors and there's no cap and all that. At some point, a lawyer is going to say, wait a second, all these lawyers are doing this? This is a great class action. And I've heard lawyers say this. Can you imagine the depositions? Oh, well, yeah, I didn't pay attention to it. Or I went to the Cubs game, or I went to the Heat game, or it's a shady industry. And for years, the last couple of years, we didn't really talk about it, but it's starting to get traction on the ethics, Ken, because you got to protect your ethical duty to your client. And by doing that, you have to give them the lowest rate and multiple companies. And ClaimAngel instantly solves that problem and protects you from that.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time coming. It's way overdue, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, to me, it reminds me of the, what is it, payday
loan
company. Yeah, it's the same type of deal. It's just ripping everybody off. I mean,
So Ken, let me talk about these two things in relation to that, because I just looked at two contracts before this podcast because I wanted to see how the comparisons were out there. And I'm not going to name companies because that wouldn't be fair, but there's two types of fundings that we do. There's the plaintiff funding when they need to pay their bills and that sort of thing. We also do medical surgical funding as well. And a lot of companies handle those differently. We do not. We do it exactly the same way. But I just looked at a contract where a client had received $20,000 in funding on $1 million policy. It's a good case. $20,000, and it was 13 months later. And on that $20,000, they now owed $47,000. But they needed another $1,000. They needed to pay a bill. So now they got to ask that funding company for more money. So they asked them for $1,000. The charge for $1,000 was the same interest rate, but the origination fee and the application fee for that $1,000 was $4,200. $4,200 to get another $1,000. And people, unfortunately, in that situation are so desperate, they don't even read it. They don't even know. And the lawyers are too busy to know. And this is what happens. So, ClaimAngel, by the way, in that situation, we don't charge on the old money. We only charge our fee on the new money. And our fee is, if it's $1,000, by the way, just so you know what our fee is $39. Okay. If it's $5,000, our fee is $170. Like, that's how it is. It's 3.99% flat, no interest. So if it's $39, it's always $39. Right. That's how we do it. And those fees do not accrue. They do not do anything. So I'm looking at this contract and they brought it to us and we bought it out. Okay. But before we bought it out, we told the lawyer to call the funding company and get a price on the buyout instead of $47,000. Go negotiate with the funding company because that's ridiculous. So they did, and they got it at $30,000, which still is crazy. That's still 65, 66% interest, but at least they got it there. So we bought it out at $30,000. We gave them their $1,000. It cost them $39. And now all that money is lowered. $31,000 is at 27.8%. So in the first year alone, we're going to save them $5,000 right off the bat. That's why this works. Now, the second part of that, Ken, is the medical surgical funding, injections, surgeries. These companies are going to the doctors and negotiating a price for the surgery. Let's say it's an ACDF. They're negotiating a $15,000, $18,000 price. And they're charging the client between $150,000 and $250,000 on that money. It doesn't accrue interest. It's a flat charge. Hey, we're paying for your surgery. You're paying us back whenever the case settles, $150,000. If you did it through us and it cost $18,000, 46 months later, it would be $36,000 maximum. And we know most cases don't last that long. So it would be much less than that. But think about that, just even at the maximum, $36,000 versus $150,000. So yeah, you can go call that company and negotiate it down to $100,000. Okay, they're going to take $50,000 off. That means they're overcharging by a lot, but it's still $100,000 versus $36,000. Your client's losing $64,000.
Yeah.
Because with all due respect to everybody, the lawyers don't have time to figure this out. ClaimAngel solves that time for everybody. That's what we do. And we've made this tech AI marketplace that does it. We don't use AI to underwrite. We use it to sift through claims, but we don't underwrite with it, at least not yet. But our tech marketplace is just phenomenally available and easy to use. Once you use it once, you'll never want to use anything else. And Ken, as you know, probably 15 of the top 30 volume firms in the country are using ClaimAngel.
If I remember correctly, John Morgan's using it, and I told you that a lot of people thought he owned it.
Yeah.
But you're telling me he does not own it.
No. John Morgan was our first adopter on ClaimAngel. He has helped us in the sense that he has a very large firm, as everybody knows, and he sees the ethics of it and tells his lawyers, use ClaimAngel because we need to protect our ethical and fiduciary duty. John Morgan is a friend of mine for years. I've known him forever, but he does not own any part of ClaimAngel, has no interest. And to John's credit, never wanted it. He just wants to do the right thing by his clients. And John had been promised a 28% rate from other funders on every case. And he had checked and saw that he had not gotten it on every case and not gotten it on most cases, and said he hates funding. He hates it for the clients. But if it can be done reasonably and rationally when they need it, he believes that it's the right thing to do in that regard, only when it's reasonable, rational, low cost, and needed. I view it a little differently than John. I view it a little differently. I actually think it should be more used than it is now at our rate, because it's a better rate and terms than a credit card. If they're using the credit card, I think ClaimAngel is better money. But John and I disagree. He thinks it should be limited to whenever they need it and it's for the case. I get it. But he is not an owner. He is just a great, wonderful supporter of the company. And John knows a lot about a lot of things, as we all know, and he's really been helpful. And not just him, there's other firms, Mike Morris's firm, Lerner and Rowe, Farah and Farah, Wilshire out of California. Lots of firms are using us exclusively because they don't want any ethical fiduciary problems. And here's what we tell them, Ken, and this would go for all of your members as well. If you have a funding company that you want to keep funding you have a great relationship with them. We are not here to ruin relationships. We want you to keep your relationship. We are happy to onboard them to ClaimAngel and have them fund all of your clients. They can fund all of your clients. We'll designate your fundings for them. However, it's only done at our rate and on our terms and through our platform. That way you know you're getting the best deal. So if you have a funder that will fund you 27.8% on every single case, 2x cap, simple interest, you don't need ClaimAngel. But if you don't, you really do need us. And if you want to preserve that relationship, we'll preserve it for you. But most funders don't want to do it. But here's what I tell them, Ken. If I can put 10 times the number of cases you're seeing on a daily basis in front of you, and you make a 11, 12, 13, 14% margin, because that's what it comes out to be after their cost of capital, after what it costs them for their money. And you can do that over a volume of cases by just having to click a button. Are you in? And at first, Ken, they always say, no, you're ruining the industry. No. And I say to them, if you think I'm ruining the industry with ClaimAngel, then you better get on board, because we're not going away. This is the right thing to do by the clients. And then eventually some of them come around, and that's how we've gotten to 27 funders. And we've got some that have built part of their model now around ClaimAngel, where they have people sitting on our site all day long watching for the listings to pop up so they can be the first one to get them. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Good deal. So if people want to got more questions that I forgot to ask or whatever, what's the best way for them to get up with you, Jeremy, or get up with your people?
Yeah, let me do two things here, Ken, if I can. We have a portal on our site. So you go to claimangel.com and you click for lawyers. And under for lawyers, it'll say create an account. It's an email and a verification. It's no cost or anything. It's just email verification. That allows you access to our attorney portal, your paralegals, your case managers, you. It allows you to track all the fundings that you and your firm do in our portal. It also is automatic service updates, on-demand payoff letters live on the screen. You don't have to ask us for it. You can see the payoff letter live at all times. It allows you to track the funding. If your client's calling you and saying, hey, I need the money, you can say, hey, at 12:52, this is what happened. And at 1:54, this is what happened. And your money's on the way. It's all live in the portal. We built that because a lot of law firms were asking for the ability. They wanted visibility and transparency into it. So we have that. So one way to do it, Ken, is they go to claimangel.com, they go to for lawyers, they click create an account, they're in the portal. The easier way, even though that is easy, it takes a minute, but if you want to do it, they just go to claimangel.com and they click refer a client. And the form pops up to fill out the case information, or they send their client to claimangel.com and we'll send the lawyer that form. If they have any questions about what we do or how we do it, or want to talk to us, demo, whatever they need, they can call me. I'm going to give them my cell phone because that's how important this is in my mind. 786-295-8500, or they can email me at Jeremy, my first name, Jeremy, at claimangel.com, or Gianna, Jiana, at claimangel.com. She is our law firm relationship manager, and she does that. And she, to be fair, she's probably much more responsive than me. But for you people, Ken, I'll do whatever it takes, because I do believe this fits directly in line with how you help people grow their law firm. And I think this is a tool that they can use to, you said it in the beginning, Ken, if you don't do it for them, someone else is going to do it. So, if you don't get them money when they need it, someone else is going to do it. You're going to lose the case. I think we get them the money at a reasonable rate. And by the way, if the case doesn't warrant it, they're not going to get it. And you and I talked about this, Ken, and I don't know if you want me to bring it up here, but we also protect the lawyer here. If things are taking time or we don't have information, we don't tell the client we're waiting on the lawyer or the paralegal. We just say we're working on it, the funding company's working on it. If a lawyer really wants to keep a client, but really isn't sure whether the case warrants funding, all they have to do is let us know in the form. Tell us, hey, we're not sure about this. And we'll deal with the client so they don't have to. And we'll make the lawyer look good. We'll make sure they don't get funded at that time, but they know they can in the future if things pan out. We will never drive a bus over a lawyer or their staff. And if you look at our reviews, which we probably got a few hundred, we probably have 4 or 5, 6 bad reviews. It's always when we're taking the heat for something not happening, but we don't care. That's what we mean by partnering with law firms, protecting their ethics, protecting their fiduciary duties, making sure their clients get the best service and the lowest rate. That's what we try to do. So we look forward to talking to any of you. Ken, of course, we appreciate the platform to talk and be part of PILMA. We love it. You've got some of the best firms in the country, and we would love to get all of them on board and kind of lead the way in this and turn this into a tool for power, some ammo for the slingshot rather than getting beat up all the time by the insurance company.
Right. No, this has been a long time coming, so I'm glad to see it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Ken.
All right. Yes, sir. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.